Welcome to Soft Talk. Today's presentation is titled A Quest for Survival Amid the Great Himalayan Game. By the way, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I request you to subscribe to it, comment on our presentation, and press that like button if it touches your hearts, minds, and souls. Give it a thought. So let's start the show. Is the period of long peace nearing its end under the cumulative strain of regional wars and a renewed great power rivalry? What is this long peace, you may be wondering? It is a period marked by the absence of major wars between great powers since the end of the World War II in 1945. What's on the horizon? Cold peace or hot wars? What do the latest developments indicate? The latest developments of global importance, such as in Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, and Russia-Ukraine border. What do they indicate? And what do hurried preparations for India-China trade and movement of two peoples through the Lipulek Pass? What do they indicate? Remember, Nepal has been claiming, it has been consistent in her stance that this Lipulek Pass is part of our territory that extends from Kalapani to Limpiadhura, and this claim is based on the Treaty of Sugauli of 1816 and other official documents like land tax payment receipts collected from locals, those kinds of papers. On those bases, Nepal has been claiming that Lipulek forms part of that territory that extends from Kalapani to Limpiadhura. All this despite the recognition of a border dispute in the area and commitments from New Delhi to settle all border disputes with Nepal through diplomacy. What else? What do the developments indicate? Another long, cold, and protracted era of the Great Himalayan Game. By treating Lipulek as a bilateral trade point, our two neighbors, India and China, are doing more than using a convenient mountain pass for trade and pilgrimage. They are operationally slicing off the actual northwest tri-junction at Limpiadhura. Salam is slicing at work. But then, what do you make of some sealed lips of Nepal that never get tired of pledging to resolve such issues, outstanding or otherwise, through diplomacy? Have they bothered to make Nepal's displeasures known to her neighbors? Have they dared seek clarifications from the parties concerned? Welcome you all to the march of our two neighborhood giants towards a great Asian century amid our mantra like recital of principles and policies advocating the inviolability of national sovereignties and security of our giant neighbors. All this is in keeping with the grand principles of good neighborliness, of Panchashil, and the United Nations Charter, right? Let's move beyond our troubled borders even as the skies over Changru roar amid a deafening silence at the corridors of power in a burnt down Singadarbar and the Bhadrakali Palace. Move we should with an unshakable faith in the trademark Nepali valor. In the spirit of Jawaharlal Nehru's famous 1962 remark, हमारे फौज बहादुरी के साथ पीछे हट रहे हैं, meaning our troops, they are retreating bravely. According to several Nepali historical accounts, the Limpiadhura region is where the brave soldiers of Nehru sought refuge after their defeat in the 1962 war with China, only to bolster their presence in the vital vantage point overlooking Tibet in subsequent years, despite requests from Nepal to vacate her territory. For these accounts, all other 18 Indo-Tibetan border police posts established along Nepal's northern region to keep a watch on China were sent home in 1969. Looking into 3,400 years long recorded history, what factors, developments are giving rise to yet another crisis in a world where humans across generations have spent a large chunk of their lives fighting or fleeing to save their dear lives along with that of their near and dear ones? What factors actually helped maintain the long peace? Nuclear deterrence, economic interdependence through trade, the spread of democracy, the United Nations rule, increased human rights, education, stable borders, and shifting cultural norms that value life, bipolarity, and capitalist peace. Let's define some of the key factors whose meanings are less obvious. Nuclear deterrence. The Carnegie Council for Ethics in International Affairs defines it as a principle in international relations where the retaliatory potential and destructive force of nuclear weapons prevents nations from launching a nuclear attack. But then, is nuclear deterrence sufficient, effective, just, or ethical? Humanity would do well to start pondering over this question, most preferably in the land of the Buddha and numerous other sages, with the end objective of denuclearization, with the end objective of ending all wars. Bipolarity. It is the global system with two nuclear powered superpowers at the helm, like the United States and the then USSR during the Cold War, that that started from 1945 and continued till 1989. While the United States led the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that is NATO, the USSR led the Warsaw Pact, presiding over a tenuous global peace. With the disintegration of the USSR on December 26, 1991, the division of the world into two rival blocs ended, making way for a unipolar world and the expansion of NATO into Russia's neighborhood with the inclusion of reunified Germany, Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Albania, Croatia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia from 1990 till 2022, stalling the plan to bring Ukraine on board and giving a clear enough indication of the limits of this unipolarity. Then comes capitalist peace. Capitalism comes with peace. Wonderful, isn't it? This concept holds that free markets, trade, and economic interdependence nurture peace between countries by increasing the costs of war, promoting mutual interests, and incentivizing cooperation over conflict, making capitalist countries less likely to fight each other. Key mechanisms for capitalist peace are the high opportunity cost of disrupting mutually profitable trade, trust built through contractual relations, and reduced incentives for conquest when wealth comes from innovation and exchange and not through the capture of territories. Capitalist peace continues to hold between our giant neighbors while we keep footing a disproportionate bill while dreaming of benefiting from their prosperity, conveniently forgetting that it is easier said than done. Amid the rise of our giant neighbors, along with Russia, both militarily and economically, and the start of what appears to be a slow decline of the United States as the sole superpower. Thucydides, considered the father of the school of political realism, seems increasingly relevant, even in this day and age. Some monks are already drawing parallels between today's Strait of Hormuz crisis and the Suez crisis, the Suez Canal crisis of 1956, seeing echoes of the strategic overstretch that signaled Britain's decline as the world's preeminent power. Granted that the United States possesses the world's largest military budget, unmatched alliance networks, reserve currency status, and technological leadership in several sectors, but all empires preceding her were considered collapse proof, weren't they? Just like the Titanic before it hit the giant iceberg and then collapsed, then sunk, then sank. Indeed, the Thucydides trap refers to the structural stress that arises when a rising power threatens to displace the established power, heightening the risk of a major conflict. How will a fragile and strategically located country, which almost collapsed within 48 hours of a youth-led protest just about a year ago, be able to defend herself and protect her core interests as powers worth their names fight viciously for dominance in her neighborhood and much beyond? How will Nepal survive when the two neighbors start undermining her sovereign space for their mutual benefit, as if the immediate neighbors' high handedness along the border and beyond were not enough? Since the entry of the Brits into the subcontinent in the 19th century, we have been paying a mounting bill of shifting geopolitics and geostrategy through dismemberment and shrinking of the national sovereign space at an alarming rate. But what's been happening in Nepal is not an isolated case. Given such a scenario, will weak and famished cats of the global south, will they be able to survive by standing together against their far mightier species on the prowl in the region and beyond, even as the peacemaker cat continues to mew once in a while from the banks of the Hudson, barely audibly? Will the rise of the two giants and their march towards a great future force smaller countries like Nepal to seek an external security guarantor? Will the Lipulek adventure or misadventure rather end up becoming the young husband mission 2.0? As lay individuals like this presenter continue to rack their brains over questions like these, the leaders of what we consider to be our political parties, government ministers, experts, bureaucrats, and exceptionally competent generals of Bhadrakali, who know geopolitics like the back of their hands, as their gems of wisdom available for free in YouTube and other forums suggest, should come together and devise a national strategy for survival by keeping the powers that matter at arm's length while taking them into confidence. A tough ask, indeed. After all, statecraft is the art and science of the impossible. What say you, Wongs? With this remark, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening.